Hey guys, welcome to Estheticians in Business, the podcast. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to officially be back with you guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're probably like, Allison, you don't look very back. Yeah, your girl is tired, okay? But we're showing up because we're able to, right? I feel like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? But have you ever been like super sick and then it's like it takes like forever to actually recoup from being sick? And you're watching the YouTube video too. We're just watching my dog circle. What's happening? Anyways, so it's just been a lot, but some good news outside of crazy sickness that we are all improving. And we actually had our first like home study for the foster to adopt. So imagine all that's happening. And then also the foster to adopt is happening. And it went really well. I cleaned like a maniac. And then she really didn't even look at our house. She really just talked to us. And I'm like, okay. Apparently they're coming back to actually look at like the actual house. I'm like, well, my baseboards are cleaned. Okay. So whatever, but that's cool. So today's Tuesday, because when I record, and we have our class today. We actually have 3 classes left, which is just like insane to me because when we started, I was like, this is going to take forever. But we've been doing it. We've actually only missed 1 class so far, and I'm very proud of us because there's actually been a few people that have dropped out completely, and I'm just like, dang. But it is a lot. It is a lot. But anyways, during this episode, we're actually going to talk about pricing. Now, if you've been following me on Instagram for the past like few weeks, I've really been talking about pricing and profit. I'm actually in this like Proverbs 31 women thing where I'm training on like marketing and business and pricing and stuff like that. And so 2 weeks ago, I taught about pricing. And it was a lot of fun because I really got to break down like what it looks like to have profit. Now, if you are somebody who is literally like, where's my money going? I don't have any money. I'm so struggling. I feel like I just can barely pay my rent. I definitely am not paying myself. Then this podcast is going to be for you because if you ever price something and you feel like you pulled it out of thin air, maybe you copied the esthetician down the street, or you lowballed yourself because you were scared that no one would book, then this is definitely for you. Okay. So there's a few things that kind of go into this. So what is going to be at the bottom of this in the show notes is going to be a link to a freebie. And this freebie is basically going to teach you everything I'm going to talk about, but it's really going to break down like how to have profit in your business. And here's the big thing with that is that if you are working in business, you're not making any money, what's the point of running the business, right? So when you're going through the freebie, you can download it in the show notes. It's totally free. You're going to get to the bottom of it, and it's basically going to have a link to where you can actually get a course that goes along with it. And I love this course because I created it for it to be easy for you to go step by step of figuring out how to price your services, how to create a business that actually pays you, to figure out what that looks like to be paid. Because we're not pulling things out of thin air. We're actually like using numbers to understand what it looks like to get paid from our job, right? We're not just performing charity. We are people that need to pay our bills. We need to live a life. So we talk about that. I also talk about how to build confidence around your pricing, how to speak about it, the kind of the mind work that goes into it. So it's not basic. It's a very comprehensive course, and it is at the bottom of that freebie. And so just check that out. If you have any questions, obviously let me know. But if you need that additional support, that is definitely the place I would suggest. Start with a freebie. If you need more, I would definitely say do the course. Anyways, we're really just going to be walking through some of what's in that. And our first section is why you're probably undercharging in the first place. Because a lot of the times, I would say probably 95% of the time, when I coach solo estheticians and I'm teaching about profit, I'm teaching about how to pay yourself because we think about like get clients in, get clients in. If I just get more clients in, I can pay myself. If I just do this, I can pay myself. But in reality, you have to be able to understand that this isn't about feelings. This is about formulas. This is business. I literally had a conversation with somebody the other day that did something, and I was like, this is business. There is no personal around it. Like, this is business. You have to have boundaries around your business. And if you don't have boundaries around your business, people are going to run over you. And that comes to your pricing too. You also have to realize that if you're undercharging, you probably never calculated your cost per service. You probably never calculated what it looks like to actually run your business. And that's really scary. That's a scary, scary, scary place to be for a few reasons. One, how in the world are you going to make any money, right? Like, why are you in business? To make money. We're all here for money. Let's be real. Two, what if you wanted to sell? Like, what if you wanted to sell your spa or sell your treatment room or whatever, and you have no proof that you're actually making money? Like, truly, like at the end of the year, tax is cool, but if you have no proof that you're actually making money, like, how are you going to sell? Like, what's your end goal? Did you want to stay in the treatment room forever? What if you wanted to bring an employee in? Are you just going to wing that because you're just like, I need to, it's just going to happen? Like, that, no, you just don't do that, right? So you want to make sure you understand your cost per service. And then lastly, you're probably afraid of losing clients or raising your prices, but you're actually losing yourself by staying that low. And let's be real, you have certain clients that aren't going to want to pay if you raise your price. Absolutely. That's okay. The cool thing is they're going to leave, and people that want to pay you, see your value, are going to fill their spots. Just how it works. Because if you're constantly discounting, you're attracting people that just want a discount. I'm 100% going to choose a discount over someone who's going to ask me to pay full price. Maybe not in a service industry situation, but some people do that. Like I had a client who I asked who did her hair because I was transitioning between people who were doing my hair. I didn't like the person who was doing it, so I wanted to find somebody else. I asked who did her hair, and she said, "Oh, I just go on Groupon and find the cheapest person. I've never seen the same person twice doing my hair." And it's because she's always looking for that discount. You're attracting people like that. And I remember she told me that, and I felt so icky. I was like, please leave. Like, I didn't say that, but that's how I felt. Because she was already that client that didn't buy the things that erect. She literally asked for things to be so, like, the things that were most expensive, she wanted a discount on, which your girl didn't do. So it's just something that you have to recognize that you're attracting people, and being afraid to lose clients is relevant. Like that's a real life thing. Like it can be scary because you're like, I'm already struggling. What if I lose more clients? We have to trust the process. Okay. Now, number two, let's kind of section two of this because I have notes. Let's work through like a pricing formula. Okay. Let's work through of like how to actually create a price for a service, right? This is for one singular service. And once you kind of like understand the process, it makes creating these kind of situations or like creating the price of your services a whole lot easier because you understand what the breakdown is. And it also makes it really easy to pay yourself when you know how much you've chosen to pay yourself. Okay. So, for instance, we're going to break down just a basic 60-minute facial and see what it actually costs you. Okay. And when I say actually cost you, like you may think like, oh, it's super cheap to do a facial. Yes. If you ever talked about it like in like school, my school talked about this all the time. It was so annoying. They would, it was seriously frustrating. They're like, this service costs $3. This service costs, $5, whatever. And I didn't really understand it. And then they were like, once you get into the field, you're going to understand this more. And then I did. It was one of those situations you're like, annoying, right? But like then I did. Then I realized that I couldn't overuse a mask because that was going to cost me into another service. Like I couldn't overuse a certain chemical peel because then I would be basically paying for two chemical peels instead of just one. So you have to make sure you understand your cost per service. So let's kind of break that down. I have a whole bunch of notes. So you're going to think about like cost type at first, right? So something called COGS, which is basically your products. Okay. So that's your cleanser, your mask, your serums, the things that you use that are like your products to perform the service. And if you don't know how to calculate how much it costs per service, basically what you can do is you can look at the last time you purchased that product, and then you can look at the next time you needed to purchase it, figure out how many services or estimate how many services you use that product in, and then divide that by how many services by the price of it. So say the cost is $20 for the product and you've used it 20 times. That means that it was $1 per service based on that one product. Now, this is probably the longest part of this formula, but it's worth it, okay? All right, so your next part's going to be your disposable. Those are your things that you're throwing away. So your 4x4s, your headbands, if you are using like different gloves, if you're having like towels, stuff like that, your disposables, right? And then you have like your laundry utilities. If it's not covered under your rent, make sure you calculate that. So that's kind of like your that's more of your overhead type of things. Then your back bar items, your back bar add-ons. So say you have like LED stuff or enzymes or something you're adding into this. Then you also want to make sure you calculate your hourly rate because you deserve a paycheck too. Now, say you really don't know. You're like, I actually have never come up with my hourly rate. And that was something when I first became an esthetician, I didn't really calculate it. I was like, I didn't really understand how I wanted to get paid, or I just kind of priced something and that was it, right? But let's say, calculate this. Let's say you want to make like $5,000 a month, okay? $5,000 a month. And that's take home. That's take home. That's yours. We're going to divide that by 4, and that would be $1,250 a week. Now we're going to say we're going to divide that by 25 hours, okay? You're only working 25 hours. Now you can divide this by services if you like. So say like weekly, you're performing 15 services, okay? We can do that. Let's say you're weekly, you're performing 15 services. We're going to divide that by 15. That means each service minimum, you need to be paying yourself $83 for take home to perform 15 services a week times 4 to get to 5,000. So it's 83.333333. Okay. Let's see it if you see it on my phone. So with that said, to calculate it really quickly, if you are only performing, if you're like, I actually only want to perform 15 services, then you know that you have to at least minimum be starting at $83. Okay. But let's say we realize actually, because I have other numbers written down here, your baseline is actually $61, meaning that you are paying yourself, a certain amount, your service costs a certain amount, and it equals $61. Okay. Now, this is where we're going to figure out how to price your service. So you can really figure this out by like spreadsheet, calculator, or paper, whatever makes your heart the happiest, but definitely writing it down so you understand. But this is where you can actually set your profit margin, okay? So say you're paying yourself, right? You're paying yourself a portion, say $50 an hour, and that is within that $61 baseline cost we just talked about. You're now going to choose a profit margin. That is that extra. The profit is not what's paying you, it's the extra. That profit is the thing that is going to go to savings, go to a new treatment table. It's going to go to, your vacation. It's going to go to you having the time off. It's going to you paying off debt or paying for things that you need. Maybe it's something like, I don't know, that you have to pay off debt. Like that is so much of what that's going. It's the extra. So say you choose a profit margin, and you can still do this in a few ways. You can say that you want to have a profit margin of whatever, of extra $2,000 a month. You can calculate the same thing we just did the calculation for the 5,000. Or you could do 20 to 30% as like a minimum, where you're like, you know what, I'll make a profit margin of around 20%, and there you go. Okay. You're like 20% of whatever the final is, like it's plus to that 61. So basically your final price to be able to hit those minimums, say we're doing 20%, it'd be $18 on top of that $61. So 61 is our baseline. $18 is that 30% for that profit margin, for that extra. So that means on every service or on this service, you're going to make an extra $18 to go towards anything. So that means that by minimum, that 60-minute facial needs to be $79. Minimum. I am out here seeing some of these facials being like $60, $65. How are you paying yourself? You're not paying yourself, okay? $79. If you want to be confident, if you want to have more money, if you want to do whatever, you can go ahead and round that and obviously to like 85 if it sounds better for you. You could also always use like tiered pricing for upgraded facials and memberships or whatever, but in reality, a 60-minute facial in this day and age should not really be under $100, or it should be very close to $100, okay, for just a basic like streamlined facial. And then that way you can kind of understand what it looks like to break it down. Now, section 3 is let's add some value without actually losing profit. So instead of adding, so what I see a lot is a lot of people will add like extra perks or extra steps or whatever to make people like want to pay more just so you can like raise your price. But in reality, you probably just need to raise your price. So here's some examples that you can do instead. So first one is have add-ons. Like, unless you're unless you're offering people the opportunity to like pay like an all-in-one price, like I've started to see those, I've really loved them, where it's like $300 and I will take care of everything that you need. So if you need high frequency, if you need dermaplaning, if you need LED, whatever it is, if it's in a 90-minute facial or whatever, I will take care of all of it. You need a peel, I'm adding it in there. You pay the base price of $300, I'm taking care of all of it. But if you're not doing that, doing add-ons can massively increase your margin. So you could have like upgrades to like jelly mask, specific serums, maybe LED. Maybe you're doing add-ons that are like chemical peels. or maybe you're doing dermaplane, or maybe you're doing body contouring, or maybe you're doing like LED on the chest, if you're doing lashes or hand mask or something, you'll be shocked by just adding $25 to a service of how much that'll make you. So let's talk about that. So say you're having 15 services a week. That's 15 times 25. That's 375 extra dollars a week, okay? And then times 4, that's 1,500 extra dollars a month just by adding $25 to every service. That's significant, guys. Like, that is significant. So making sure that you know that you are doing like stuff like add-ons. Now you can always do like, and I always talk about this, was a high perceived value and a low cost value to you. So high perceived value to them, low cost value to you. Meaning that it's going to be super cheap for you to perform or free, especially if it's equipment that just doesn't require any product. And then you perform that goes along with something and it costs you stuff, okay? I had a student that told me that she never charged add-ons and now she needs money. And I'm like, dog, you got to start charging add-ons. Like what's happening? You have to do this. And she's like, I just don't know how to go about it. And he was like, you just let them know, like new policy, I have to start charging for what is performed. Of course, I'm always going to go to you if you're performing free things for me. What? That just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, so make sure that you are always asking for the add-on. I mean, it can even be like you're going to do the facial and you start seeing they have peach fuzz. Mention dermaplaning. Hey, have you ever had dermaplaning before? Or do you want to, and if they have, if you already know that, be like, hey, do you want to do anything extra like dermaplaning, jelly mask, squash, or facial massage? And you just kind of get their wheels turning. And it can be super simple. Do it while they're doing skin analysis. Or like during the consultation when you're talking to them, like, hey, tell me specifically what you want to work on today. Like, what is that thing we're going for today? And say she says, you know what, I've actually really started to get blackheads. Okay, I have this super awesome chemical peel that is like very low downtime. It would be super fun. You just can't go in the sun, right? And she's going to be like, oh my God, yeah, how much is it? You tell her how much it is. She's chill with it because she's like, they're doing it. And then you perform it. That's it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, okay? Just make sure you don't make it like weird. All right, so let's talk about section 4, when to raise your prices. Now, say you're booked 75 to 80% of the time. That is probably where you should start looking at raising your prices. And it's not 75 to 80% of the time 1 month. You're booked 75 to 80% of the time 6+ months. Like, I am always booked. That's when you should probably look into raising your prices a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can just be a little bit. I was very, 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 very booked for prices just by $5. A few people asked me about it. That one client asked me about it. And I was like, I needed to raise the prices. Like we were at that extent where I needed to raise the prices. But it was only $5, right? It was like less than 10%. And then like 6 months later, I raised it again. And so that's the thing you have to remember is that like you just need to raise it just a little bit and see what it is. Or if you're like super booked and your prices are significantly low, like raise the price. Some people are going to stay and some people aren't. Okay, now maybe you're getting the statement, this is such a good deal. Like, why would I not stay? I'm not a deal. I'm not a bargain, right? No, we didn't just pick you up at the esthetician clearance rack. Like, raise your prices. Okay, and then maybe you've added more certifications. Maybe you've added a tech. Maybe you've added more, like a better client experience. Maybe you've added something so significant. Maybe you've added medical director and you're able to perform significant amount of services. Maybe you've added like a nurse who's able to perform other services for you as well. These are all very important things to recognize as something that you should be raising your prices for. And then once again, I wrote this down again, but raise 10 to 15% at a time. Okay. Tell your clients in advance and don't apologize. Don't say, I'm sorry. You're running a business. There has never been a time where I've been like apologized to a coffee shop for raising their price. I get it. Or I've been apologized to for going to a coffee shop and they've raised their price. I just pay it or I don't. Okay. Now, if your pricing is still based on fears, vibes, or copying other estheticians, let's go ahead and work on that. Now, there's a few different ways you can go about this. Now, there is that freebie. I'd recommend starting there. You guys know I love me. Your girl loves her freebie. So check out the freebie. Work on it. If you have questions or you feel like you need more advanced help, like you want somebody to walk you step by step, I created an entire course around it. And it's not an expensive course, like $47. So like, check out the course, look at it, and join like the hundreds of other students who are literally building profit around their business because they've taken the course and actually like helped themselves. Okay. Don't get stuck in this like, I'm struggling, I'm not making enough money thing. Like, it's not a client issue, it's a your pricing issue. And you just have to acknowledge that. So check it out. It's seriously actually a really great course. But anyways, check the freebie. It's in the show notes. You'll see that. But y'all, that's really our call, like the call to action for this is check out the freebie. It's gonna help you a lot because you are worth so much more than your low prices you were charging. Now, some of you may be like, my prices aren't super low. I still don't have a lot of clients. If that's the course, Estheticians in Business, the marketing course is yours. Like you should definitely check that out because that's all about marketing. I'm going to teach you, it's literally teach you everything about marketing. I actually just got the sweetest review today of somebody of like a testimony of how much her business has changed from Estheticians of Business marketing course. And it just like makes my heart melt because I'm like, I worked so hard on this course. It was like my baby. And I'm just so grateful that she found it so helpful. So, but anyways, I'm getting emotional. So guys, I'm going to hop off and I have to start getting ready. I'm still in my gym clothes and we have to leave in a little bit. Spinach artichoke dip for food today. So I need to go eat. I went to this local place to get some bread, like sourdough bread, and they had it, and I was like, that looks so good. And it is. I'm still eating it. Yeah, I'm almost eating the whole entire container. And I'm like, is there a serving size in this? And there's not serving sizes, so it sounds like that's a serving size. Anyways, I'll see you guys on Monday for Monday marketing. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I 100% would recommend listening to it because it was definitely an interesting one. After being sick for so long, it's giving yourself some grace. So, love you guys.